Hello, everyone. We appreciate you joining us once again for Pro Bono Institute's Pro Bono Happy Hour. I'm David Lipscomb, Director of Strategic Communications for PBI. The Pro Bono Happy Hour is our new series of podcasts in which we highlight law firm Pro Bono Challenge signatories and law firm Pro Bono project members. This week, we called Julie LaEace, Firmwide Director of Pro Bono Legal Services at Kirkland Ellis. Julie discussed the pro bono culture in Chicago, where she is based, getting the firm's formal pro bono program off the ground, a new pro bono project the firm is taking on, and a recent victory for low-income tenants in Los Angeles. We hope you're comfortable wherever you may be, whether that's mid-commute, on your lunch break, or simply working at your desk, and we hope you enjoy the interview. Hi, Julie. Thanks for joining us on the Pro Bono Happy Hour. We just want to jump right into it. And tell us a little bit about yourself and the Pro Bono program at Kirkland Ellis.
I have been at the firm since the beginning of 2007. I joined the firm in a different capacity. I was hired to lead the Attorney Training and Development Department in our Chicago office. And as I was in that function, I began working with the pro bono partner for our Chicago office on developing the pro bono program in Chicago, because I saw that there was a real tie-in between professional development and pro bono, and there was no kind of formal pro bono structure in place at that time. Around that time, the firm had instituted its first formal pro bono committee across the firm, and we're also looking for somebody to support the pro bono committee in a full-time capacity, and so I stepped into that role in mid-2008.
Great. What was attractive about that role to you?
Oh, so many things. First and foremost, I think the opportunity to harness the resources of a large firm to do some real good in the community and across the country, because the firm was really instituting a formalized pro bono program for the first time. It was the opportunity to really build something, and so the opportunity to really be an entrepreneur and to essentially create something brand new was very attractive. And then the opportunity to work with partners at the firm who were very passionate and very excited about building this pro bono program and getting our attorneys involved was very exciting, and building up the enthusiasm about the program and getting people engaged in it was a lot of fun. Right.
A lot of fun. Glad to hear that. I imagine it could have been challenging as well. What are some of the challenges that you face when you are starting a formal program from scratch and you are trying to drum up that interest? Maybe it's already there, maybe it's not, but what are some of the things that other folks who might be doing the same thing, what should they look out for, and how do they deal with those kinds of challenges?
From a logistics angle, the first challenge I faced was I was essentially a one-person department, and the enormity of setting up a program essentially on my own at the time without additional staff. Just the volume of what I had to take care of was pretty daunting. So I would, for anybody who's looking to start a program like this, to get the support of anybody who's willing to help out, even if it's on a part-time basis or just wants to chip in and help out, really bring other people in and get as much support as you can. And then it's a culture change. While Kirkland has always done pro bono, this was a kind of a new kind of formalized structure around pro bono, and a new kind of encouragement for everyone to get involved and really to put in significant time around pro bono. And so that, fortunately, we had the encouragement and the support from the very top of the firm. And I'd say for anybody who is starting a pro bono program, that is critical. That is and remains key to the success of our program, is that we have the support of the very top of the firm. So if you're starting a program, you really have to get the senior leadership engaged and behind the program.
That's great. I mean, I think we've heard that time and time again, that top-down buy-in is crucial to getting these programs off the ground and keeping them sustainable. It sounds like you're no longer a one-person department, so tell us about the pro bono leadership team. Who's on it? How is it organized? And how do you divide responsibilities?
We have a committee comprised of attorneys, partners across the firm, who take on the leadership of the pro bono program across the firm. But these are attorneys who have full-time commercial practices. So they are essentially the cheerleaders for pro bono in their offices and help us to make the important decisions around the pro bono program. Supporting the committee and doing the day-to-day work of carrying on and managing the pro bono program are myself. I am the director of the program across the firm, both domestically and internationally. I have 3 full-time staff people, a specialist who sits in our New York office and a specialist who sits in our Chicago office, both of whom are licensed attorneys. They focus specifically on the New York and Chicago offices, respectively. They are our 2 largest offices. I also have a coordinator who supports me and the rest of the program administratively, and I also have somebody who helps out on a part-time basis in addition to other duties in our Bay Area. So our staff support has grown enormously over time, and it's made a huge difference to my life and to the success of our pro bono program.
Right, I imagine it's a lot easier when you have that support and that help, and folks that are really engaged in it. How do you deal with having your leadership team be across several different offices? I mean, I think technology helps a lot now, email, video conferencing, you can do all these sorts of things, but how do you keep things organized when you do have people that are in different offices that are across the country, and, again, many of them may have, their full practices that they have to deal with, and how do you make sure that things stay together and stay organized?
It's a challenge, and I think you have to understand that things are going to be tailored to one specific office. There may be a need to modify something to a particular office based on that office's culture. But we have regular meetings among the committee. We also have partners who are in charge of that particular office's pro bono program, and we have monthly calls with those partners, so they stay apprised of issues and so that we can ensure consistency across all of our offices. And then I have regular calls with all of my staff to keep apprised of issues, and so we can ensure consistency as well.
Now, speaking about culture, let's zero in a little bit on Chicago. I think you're our first interviewee from Chicago. We've heard great things about the Midwest. We always hear about Minnesota and Minneapolis, and how involved they are in pro bono, and there seems to be a very strong community there. What's the culture like in Chicago specifically around pro bono?
I've seen it to be it's a very collaborative culture. It seems to me that the legal aid organizations and the law firms really work together well to come together to address issues. The law firms, my colleagues across the city meet regularly, support each other, answer each other's questions, help each other out. We all, we see each other very, very often at various events. I would say that we strongly support the many different legal aid organizations in the city, and a lot of that is also due to a very strong and vibrant and helpful bar foundation. The Chicago Bar Foundation is very innovative. They do a wonderful job being strategic, being innovative, and being a leader in the Chicago pro bono community.
Let's switch gears a little bit here, and we want to talk about the Jeremiah Circle of Friends, which I believe is a project that Kirkland got off the ground. Can you just give us some background on what that is and how Kirkland got involved and how it grew?
Sure. Back in, I believe it was 2010 or 2011, one of the secretaries of the then chair of our pro bono committee approached him and said that her church, Friendship Baptist Church, the pastor of the church was talking about the need for legal services in that quadrant of D.C. The Jeremiah Circle of Friends is a legal clinic that's located in the southwest quadrant of D.C. The pastor of Friendship Baptist Church really wanted to set up a clinic there because there was no legal services there at the time. And so the secretary approached the chair of our committee, and he started looking into it, thinking about it, talked to the pastor of the church. We reached out to the Legal Aid Society of D.C., and together we all collaborated to open up a clinic called Jeremiah Circle of Friends, providing the first ever legal aid service clinic in the southwest quadrant of D.C. Since that time, we've arranged with the Legal Aid Society of D.C. to essentially take over the management of the clinic. We provide all the financial support for the clinic, and we also, our attorneys exclusively staff the clinic. So it's really a marvelous undertaking. We've never opened or staffed or founded a clinic before, but and it took a lot of hard work, but it was really a tremendous undertaking, and it's been really successful thus far. Our attorneys have devoted a very large number of hours, and the firm has devoted a large amount of money to the clinic to ensure that it stays successful.
What about any other projects that you all may be working on, or any recent victories that you might want to discuss?
There is a relatively small project that we're pretty excited about. We just started in Chicago with an organization that's not actually worked pro bono with any law firms before, which is why I think it's particularly exciting. It's an organization called the Center for Law and Social Work, and we're going to be helping them with uncontested adoptions, the situations where family members are adopting children. We've conducted a training that the Center for Law and Social Work has put together, and we have this week we're going to be taking on 6 cases assisting families with adoptions. And what's really exciting is I think this is the first time that the center is going to be working with a law firm pro bono, and so it's exciting to help them expand their capacity and to help them develop their pro bono program. And it's also really exciting to see how enthusiastic our own attorneys are. We had an enormous amount of interest in this project, and the cases that we brought in were immediately taken, and people were very excited about working on it. So that is something we're looking forward to expanding in the future. And in terms of victories, well, the case that we are really proud of this year for its impact on low-income folks is a settlement we reached in April of this year along with the Inner City Law Center in Los Angeles on behalf of more than 100 low-income tenants who filed a negligence lawsuit against their landlord. The plaintiffs received over $2 million in addition to other money as part of that settlement. That was reached 4 days into a jury trial in Los Angeles Superior Court. These were tenants, most of whom were non-English speaking, many of whom were elderly individuals and children, were enduring dangerous living conditions, fire safety violations, mold and sewage problems, injuries, faulty sanitation, and serious mouse and cockroach infestations. The building had been cited by the health department and housing and community investment departments for various failures, and the tenants had complained to the landlords, but their grievances were ignored. And so finally, the Inner City Law Center and Kirkland and Ellis brought suit, and then were able to reach a settlement for the plaintiffs. And so that was a really significant victory for these individuals, and we were very, very proud of that result for them.
Certainly. Not to jump around too much, but this is related, I think, to both the adoption project as well as the one that you just mentioned. How do you find or select the types of projects that you want to take on? Does that come from your attorneys? Does it come from the Pro Bono Leadership Committee? Is it intertwined with the firm's mission? What's the process for deciding what kinds of projects you want to get involved in?
As far as finding projects, it's really a variety. That particular organization was introduced to us by one of the attorneys at the firm who had a connection with the organization. Many of our projects that come into us because we have enterprising attorneys who have a connection with an organization and just want to make an introduction to the firm. Sometimes the pro bono staff or the pro bono leadership of the firm hear of good projects. So it really comes from a variety of sources. Kirkland's culture is one that's very entrepreneurial. So we do have a number of attorneys who tend to bring in their own projects or like to start projects themselves. What we look for in projects and what we consider when we start working with an organization is whether can that organization provide good support to our attorneys, particularly if we are engaging in an area of law that we are not familiar with. Our attorneys are undoubtedly going to have questions, and does that organization have the capacity to answer questions, kind of do a little hand-holding so that our attorneys feel comfortable taking on a new type of matter? Can the organization provide good training? Do they have the capacity? Do they have the staff to provide good training? Are they going to? Can they screen pro bono clients sufficiently so that what we're taking on, we know that that's an appropriate pro bono client for us? Is it going to be a matter that people are going to be excited about? The adoption project in particular, we thought that it would be something that people would feel really good about helping, and the organization, particularly because they had never worked with a law firm before, we were really excited to help them expand and start their pro bono program. And then finally, is it the type of project that could be done by any type of lawyer, or could it only be done by a litigator versus a transactional lawyer? We have about a 50-50 split between transactional lawyers versus litigators in our offices, and so we always look for projects where we can get both our transactional and our litigation attorneys working on them together. And we thought that this project would be one where they could team up and both types of lawyers could participate meaningfully.
And I imagine, your attorneys appreciate the attention to ensuring that everyone can participate, obviously. Let me ask sort of lastly here, if you never had to eat or sleep ever again and you could just do pro bono all day long, what kinds of things do you think you would take on that maybe perhaps now you don't have the capacity to take on, or maybe the resources aren't quite there? Is there anything in particular that you wish you could maybe dive into a little bit more, either individually and as a firm?
My staff and I, although we are licensed attorneys, we don't currently practice. We don't, none of us really have very much time to take on pro bono matters ourselves. So I think we all, given unlimited time, would love to be able to take on any number of pro bono cases ourselves and really develop some subject matter expertise in a number of areas. I would certainly love to. Our international offices pro bono programs are expanding, and we are focusing quite a bit on building those pro bono programs, and so I spend as much time as I can on building those pro bono programs, and so if I had more time, I would spend more time looking for interesting projects and building interesting projects for those offices, perhaps traveling to those jurisdictions to see if I could even create projects that would be useful in those jurisdictions and helpful for people there, and also would be of interest and exciting to the lawyers in our international offices. But sadly, have to sleep, have to eat, have to have a life.
Right. I think we all feel the same way. If we had the infinite capacity, we would do it all. We're certainly happy to hear about your victories, and obviously we wish you well with the adoption project going forward. Julie, I really want to thank you for giving your time today and sharing your insight. We will have to follow up with you at some point to see how things are going, but again, thanks for joining us and giving us your time.
My pleasure.
You just heard my interview with Julie LaEace of Kirkland Ellis. We thank Julie for spending some time with us and sharing her insight. To listen to more podcasts in this series or learn about additional pro bono resources, visit www.probonoinst.org/podcast. If you're interested in having your firm featured on the Pro Bono Happy Hour, please email us at probono@probonoinst.org. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you back here next week on the Pro Bono Happy Hour.